We've completed the arm rail assembly, and that brings us to the bow. Now, our first step in putting the bow on the chair will be to locate the two holes where the bow is connected to the arm rail. And we're going to take some effort to make sure that the bow is, in doing so, that the bow is square to the chair. This is what we're trying to avoid creating. And once again, that'll be resolved with our winding sticks. Now the two holes for the bow are between the two short spindles. Make a mistake, get confused, and put those holes here or here. You're going to have a very strange looking chair. It's between those two short spindles. And in an ideal world, it's right between them. But with all that we've done on the chair, the world is not perfect. And so we will take out any wind with our winding sticks. Now, in the event that to eliminate wind, you find yourself crowding the front spindle, pull the winding stick backwards. Better to crowd a rear spindle than a front spindle. You're going to have to wedge this joint, and if you're too close, you won't be able to do it. But I don't have that problem. It came out just about perfect. Now, when I drill these holes, and I come through the bottom, it's hard to stop before you hit the back of one of the short spindles. So we're going to protect those spindles in this way. Take one of the backboards and just clamp it there in location. In that location. And that'll protect the back of those spindles. Now these are 7/16 holes. All the holes in the arm rail are 7/16. And since this is in the arm rail, 7/16 hole. The hole is going to be centered on the arm rail, and it's at 41 degrees. So I have that setting here on the sack back bevel board. And there it'll be 41 degrees. When I'm drilling the hole, there will be no sight line for me to follow. So I need a visual reference. And this is the reference I use. Opposite this spur, right here, the sight line will pass in space about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the arm rail. So there's the sight line there. Once again, I'm going to put a C-clamp on the arm rail. We don't want to risk splitting it at this point. There's my angle, and the slot in the handle establishes my sight line for me. Centered on the arm rail. There we go. We repeat on the other side. Holes are completed. Now we'll fit the bow to those holes. This process you're familiar with because it's exactly what we did with the arm rail when we balanced it. Remember, we bent the arm rail to 46 inches, but its length in the chair is 45. The same applies to the bow. And so I begin by establishing on this parallel line of my bench top the most symmetrical crescent I can get. Now notice that when I do that, that center line is not in the center of the crescent. I'm not concerned about it. It's irrelevant. It was only put on the bow to help with the bending. Now it is meaningless and I'm ignoring it. I've got the crescent I want and I just push straight back until what overhangs on one side, when added to what overhangs on the other side, equals 1 inch. And this is a very unusual situation, but the entire inch is going to be on this side of the bow. Typically, it's some from this side, some from this side. But in this case, the full inch is right there. Now I'll trim it. With the bow balanced, we're now going to taper the ends and fit them to a 7/16 hole. Now once again, I'm not going to use a 7/16 hole in the go gauge because the hole that matters is the one in the arm rail. So I'm fitting to the arm rail. We're going to taper the end of the spindle. The taper is a cone 7 inches long. We have a 7-inch mark on our anchor stick. So my taper is going to go up to that point. To make the taper, I'll first make the end square. Now notice that when you make a taper, more wood comes off the narrow end. Now, I'll round the edges. A lot of similarity to making a spindle or even a bow. Make it square, knock off the edges. Now with a spoke shave, now we do the other side as well. Okay, I'm testing the end of the bow, the ends of the bow in the holes in the arm rail. I didn't try to make it fit the first time because I'm looking for a particular fit and I didn't want to overshoot. The fit that I want is a friction fit in the hole with enough slippage to travel about 1 inch. What that's going to allow me to do is get the best placement of the bow this way by sliding the bow, the ends of the bow in those holes. So if I tried to do that right off the bat and I overshot, I wouldn't get the result I wanted. Now, as I test it, notice that the 3 center spindles are behind the bow and the 2 shorter spindles on the outsides are to the front of the bow. That's the placement the bow will have in the chair. a little tighter on both sides. I'm going to go back to the spoke shave and try and fit a little bit more precisely. There, that's the fit I want. You can see the bow travels down a little bit. I've got about an inch of travel in the arm rail, and that's going to allow me to tap the ends of the bow and adjust it like this. I'm going to take the bow off the chair and I'm going to scrape it and clean it up. Before I do, notice how I take it off. This is the risk. If I were to pull on one side and this joint released, I'd snap the other side. So I want to make sure I take it off evenly and smoothly. I'm going to scrape it and clean it up so that we are ready to begin the assembly. Thank you for watching this content. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And check back frequently for more Windsor chair making tips and tutorials.